Good evening. A storm is gathering on our northern border, threatening to disrupt the American economy. Canada, our closest ally and largest trading partner, is prepared to walk away from the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or USMCA. This landmark trade deal replaced NAFTA and governs a $1.6 trillion annual relationship. A breakdown could halt supply chains, spike prices, and impact jobs across North America. The core dispute? A review clause in the deal, now weaponized by Canada, who claims the US hasn't honored key parts, especially on dairy and digital trade. Ottawa is preparing for a future without the USMCA, a scenario once unthinkable. If Canada proceeds, tariffs and counter-tariffs could follow, reminiscent of past trade wars but on a larger scale. Businesses on both sides warn of factory closures, job losses, and soaring prices. The stability of the North American economic bloc is hanging by a thread. The world is watching. Can these neighbors pull back from the brink? The question, is the US ready for a $1.6 trillion trade shock? This isn't just a diplomatic spat. It's about your job, your groceries, and your car. The next move could trigger the most significant trade crisis in a generation. The stakes have never been higher. To understand this crisis, we need to revisit the USMCA's origins. Born from tough negotiations, the USMCA replaced NAFTA in 2020. Trump's administration pushed for stricter auto rules and access to Canada's dairy market. Canada fought to keep dispute panels. Mexico navigated between its two powerful neighbors. The final deal was a compromise: more North American content in cars, some U.S. access to Canadian dairy, and a crucial sunset clause. This clause requires a review every 6 years. If any country objects, renegotiation or termination can follow. The review, meant as a checkup, is now the stage for confrontation. The USMCA modernized trade with new rules on digital commerce, labor, and the environment. For a while, it worked, but the seeds of today's conflict were planted in that review clause. Now, as the first review approaches, the agreement's stability is in jeopardy. What was designed to ensure fairness has become a flashpoint. The future of North American trade hangs in the balance. The world is watching to see if the deal can survive its first real test. The outcome will shape the continent's economic future. This crisis didn't erupt overnight. Tensions have simmered for months. Canada's Trade Minister, Mary Ng, has warned, unless the US addresses serious breaches, Canada won't extend the USMCA. The clock is now ticking on the pact's potential dissolution. At the heart of Canada's complaint, dairy and digital services. Canada says the US is pushing for more dairy market access than agreed, ignoring dispute panel outcomes. The powerful Canadian Dairy Farmers Association is demanding a tough stance. On digital trade, Canada's proposed tax on big tech, mostly American firms, has drawn US threats of retaliation. This is about tax sovereignty versus US tech dominance. The dispute has escalated beyond normal trade spats. Trudeau faces pressure from opposition and provinces, especially Quebec, to defend Canadian interests. Public support is strong. Most Canadians back a tougher stance, even at economic risk. The 6-year review has become a high-stakes negotiation, not a routine check-in. Canada is ready to walk if its concerns aren't addressed. The threat of withdrawal is real, and the US must decide how to respond. The next few months will determine the fate of the agreement. The $1.6 trillion US-Canada trade relationship is massive. Over $4.3 billion crosses the border daily. Canada is the top export market for 32 US states. American jobs and industries depend on this flow. The US is Canada's main market, with 75% of Canadian exports heading south. Trade supports nearly 9 million US jobs, spanning manufacturing, agriculture, energy, and tech. Supply chains are so integrated, it's hard to tell where one economy ends and the other begins. Energy is a prime example. Canada is the US's largest foreign supplier of oil, gas, and electricity. Pipelines like Enbridge Mainline are economic lifelines. A trade breakdown could disrupt energy supplies and raise prices for Americans. The USMCA was meant to provide certainty for business and investment. If that certainty vanishes, businesses will brace for tariffs, higher costs, and chaos. The seamless logistics built over 30 years could unravel overnight. Both economies would feel immediate pain. The numbers make one thing clear: mutual dependence means mutual risk. If this relationship fails, both sides lose. If the USMCA collapses, the American auto industry is ground zero. Integrated supply chains would shatter, with tariffs up to 25% making cars thousands more expensive. Automakers would face layoffs and production cuts, especially in the Midwest and South. Agriculture would suffer too. Canada is a top market for U.S. farm goods. Retaliatory tariffs could devastate American farmers already under pressure. Retail and construction would feel the pain. Canadian lumber, food, and goods would cost more, driving up prices. Supply-side inflation would ripple through the economy. The disruption would be swift and severe. The stakes for American industry couldn't be higher. This showdown is as political as it is economic. Trudeau faces pressure to defend Canadian interests, especially on dairy and digital taxes, while managing divided provincial leaders. His political future is on the line. Failure could cost him dearly. In Washington, the Biden administration faces its own pressures. Midterms loom, and both parties demand a tough stance. Key states and industries expect protection, but a trade war would be a political disaster. The White House must balance strength with pragmatism, seeking a solution without escalation. Both governments are playing high-stakes political chess. One wrong move could topple the board. The outcome will shape not just trade, but the political landscape in both countries. Economists warn dissolving the USMCA would be economic self-harm for both countries. Dr. Emily Hayes of Brookings says, "There's no scenario where this ends well. Both sides lose." Supply chains are more complex than ever. A fractured North America would be less competitive globally. Trade lawyer Mark Warner notes, while the US and Canada argue, the rest of the world builds new alliances. Experts agree. The USMCA's dispute mechanisms, though imperfect, are better than chaos. Abandoning the treaty would unleash a wave of tariffs and retaliation. Some analysts see this crisis as a necessary reckoning, forcing both sides to address festering issues. Dr. Sarah Belanger argues the review clause is working as intended, pushing for real solutions. This is a moment of truth. Will Washington and Ottawa commit to partnership or let the deal unravel? The path forward is perilous, but a stronger agreement could emerge. The stakes are enormous for both economies and their place in the world. Behind the headlines, real people are at risk. Truck drivers crossing the Detroit-Windsor Bridge, auto parts workers in Ontario, and American families buying homes all depend on stable trade. A breakdown means delays, layoffs, and higher costs for everyone. Small businesses built on cross-border trade could collapse overnight. Consumers would pay more for cars, groceries, and homes. The anxiety is real. Uncertainty makes it impossible to plan or invest. Shared prosperity has created shared vulnerability. When trade falters, it's ordinary people who suffer most. This isn't just about governments or corporations. It's about families, workers, and communities on both sides of the border. Their stories are the true cost of a trade war. North America stands at a crossroads. The USMCA's future will be decided in the coming months. The best-case scenario negotiators find common ground, resolve disputes, and strengthen the agreement. This requires political courage and compromise from both sides. The worst-case talks collapse, the deal unravels, and a tariff war erupts, hurting jobs, prices, and the US-Canada relationship for years. The world is watching, and the stakes are enormous. What happens next will shape our economic future. Citizens must stay informed and engaged. The prosperity of North America hangs in the balance. Your voice matters, now more than ever.